Hello there, my name is Kelly Williams. Thank you very much for being on this video today. It's a long overdue video, long meaning over 3 weeks long since we actually did our pre-launch, and recently we just did our launch a few days ago. But things are happening quickly. People are accepting the Pay to Build Your List system, and it is working as anticipated in helping people build a large list and get paid for doing so. But it's actually 1:46 in the morning on a Friday evening. I had committed to have this video done, and I was going to get it done. So I'm going to work very, very hard and diligent to get this produced and out and into our member area so everybody can enjoy it, and hopefully now have some clarification on how the compensation really works and how you can benefit in a big, big way from what we have put together. So I'm going to go through this quickly. I am going to do some ad-libbing now and then as I go through it, but hopefully when I'm done, you will have a great grasp on how this works. It's unlike anything you've ever seen, however, and there's some dynamics to it that can help anyone do what it was intended to do, and that is to build a giant list. And let's face it, I think one of the things that we overlook in online business is the ability to build a large list, and most people don't have the skills necessary in order to build a list, nor the money. Sometimes it costs a lot of money to build a large list, and so this system was created to help anyone. And so you may ask yourself, well, who's my market? Anyone is your market who wants to create a list of targeted and highly qualified and targeted leads. That's what the system is designed to do through a lead sharing concept that we have put together. But let me, and so our whole focus, like I said, is to help people build these large lists. And so I'm going to share with you how we go about to flood the internet with list building websites, all helping you to build a list. We call that leverage, and leverage is using the efforts and the resources, if you will, of others to help you accomplish something, and we use it in a very big and dynamic way. But most of you have had an opportunity to be in your member area. You've seen the little funnels. Now keep in mind, the funnels are nothing more than my way of illustrating what we typically do in online marketing, and that is create our marketing or lead generating funnel. And so these funnels are just kind of a fun way, in essence, to depict that or illustrate that. But you need to remember that the basis of our program is lead sharing. And so when you see these funnels, recognize that there is somebody behind the funnel. These are actually people who are, or I should say, not just any people, these are list builders who are already part of the system. They've already upgraded, if you will, to version 2.0. Now what you see are these funnels, and they're listed in order 1 through 30. For illustration purposes, I want to break this down because I've kind of changed a little bit of the illustration only because it'll help you understand a little bit more. So remember, one of these funnels, are funny looking design funnels, represents a person, okay, another list builder. But what I've done for this illustration, I've reduced the size of our funnel to this little tiny triangle, if you will, but it represents the same thing. So you've got our funnel, the list builder funnel, the PBL funnel, which is really a person, but for our illustration I've reduced it down to this little blue triangle. Okay, when you see an orange funnel, which when you're in the member area you notice that that represents you. Okay, and you can highlight that position in your back office or in your member area, and that represents you, and you should be able to pull up your PBL username. But for our illustrations on this compensation program video, I used a little orange, okay, triangle. Now keep in mind, this is all going to make sense here very shortly. And now for someone who upgrades to version 2.0, I use a green little triangle. Okay, so you can come back and watch this over and over again to get a better idea, but I'm just giving you a little legend, if you will, of what you're going to see from this point moving forward. So a version 1.0 user, which is a free user, is represented with a gray triangle. Now remember, those are funnels, but there wasn't enough room on the page to do what I wanted to do, and so I used it in this fashion. Okay, so I want you to have a change of thinking. Remember, what you see in the member area is these funnels listed 1 through 30, which once again represents a list builder who is already in the system. What you're ultimately doing is subscribing to their list. Okay, but what I want you to do at this point is to have a change of thinking, and what I mean is this. Once again, I've reduced the size of them to help me illustrate this change of thinking. I want you to think now in a straight line. Okay? 1 is at the bottom, 30 is at the top. Okay? So list builder number 1 is right here. Once again, that's a person. List builder number 30 is up here. All right? So we're going to think in a straight line, and I believe this will help you understand this concept far greater. And I thought that was kind of cool, so I thought I'd do it again. Woohoo! There you go. So when you join, this is what ultimately happens. There's you. Okay? You are a free user of the system, and you can continue to remain a version 1.0, a free user, or you can upgrade to version 2.0 by subscribing to the list of the 1 through 30 list builders. It's your choice, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But let me just share with you what a free version 1.0 user gets. And they will get the website. Okay, they'll get their own URL linked directly to them, and they have access to the video system, the member area system, and so forth. There's a couple of benefits that they don't get, and I'm not going to go into all of those. You can go watch the How It Works video to get a determination of those. But what happens is now is that the free users will make $5 for every free version 1.0 user who upgrades to version 2.0, who joins through their website, their URL link that they have access to. You will only have one website working to help you build your list as a version 1.0 user, and that is your own website. You will lose out on all of the list building activities of those who join from your website and all the generations below them. But what the heck, it's free, right? And I will dare say that I'm proud of it. I believe that the video is one of the best videos online right now. It was very creative, had some great people put it together. Mind you, it was my script, so I'm pretty proud of that. Okay, so that's what you get as a free user. You're still going to make $5 for every person that's added to your list, but your list effort and building efforts is through your own efforts and the website that you have access to, and so forth. Okay, now let's jump into version 2.0 upgrade and why it would be important to upgrade. Okay, if you really want to build a list and the value behind upgrading. And hopefully by the time I'm done, you're going to recognize, holy smokes, little did I understand what could ultimately happen with a little bit. Now, obviously, there's a cost associated with it. But you get to choose your upgrade cost plus your benefits based on the number of the 30 list builders lists that you're willing to subscribe to. Remember, that's what we're doing. You're in essence subscribing to their list, and they're going to in turn exchange their information with you. That is step number one. So this is how it works. So not only are you determining your cost of your 2.0 upgrade by the number of list builders that you're willing to share your information with, but you're also starting to build your list immediately. Okay? Because every list builder you choose will go and be added to your list. Now, you're not going to get paid on them. Okay? They've already paid, but they go into what we refer to as your Connections Plus list. The second thing that happens through your choice of how many list builders you want to share with is something I will share with you shortly, but it helps determine how many leads or how many of these list builders will be required to share a lead with you. It's huge, this benefit that I'm going to share with you in just a minute. Okay, and then the third thing is also huge, and that is this. For every list builder you choose, it's also helping determine and telling the system how many generations of list builders below me do I want to have help me build my list. Okay? Remember, these list builders are already in the system, so they're above me. All right? We're talking about by my election or by your election of how many list builders, we're going to then determine how many generations below you will help you build your list. And hopefully this will make more sense as I go forward. Okay? So let's assume now that you choose one list builder. Now keep in mind there's always a $5 admin cost, and then beyond that every list builder you choose will add $5 to that. Okay? Whether you choose one or you choose all 30, there's still only just one admin cost of $5. So the value's there. Mind you, if you come back and upgrade later, you do 2 now and 3 now, and or 3 later and 5 later, there's always a $5 admin fee. Just so that you know, the value's in making a wiser decision right up front. Okay, so you choose one. What happens? You add one, the person that you chose, and once again, you have to start with the first list builder in line. That list builder will then show up in your Connections Plus list. Okay, the next thing is that list builder will be sharing with you in the future if you meet a requirement that I'll share with you in just a minute. But now what also has happened is you've told the system that I want to have a one generation of list builders helping me build my list. Okay, one generation. All right. Now if you choose 10 list builders to share with, you'll have those 10 names, emails, and profile information showing up in your Connections Plus list. You'll also have those 10 list builders who will be sharing a future lead with you if you meet a requirement that once again I'll share with you in a minute. And then you'll have 10 generations of list builders below you helping you build your list. You're telling the system that with this decision. Okay? Now if you do all 30, which I'm telling you right now, and hopefully by the time you're done, you're going to recognize that it's a very small price for such a big reward and benefit. All right? And you know, when I'm done, I'm telling you, each time I describe it and share it with somebody, I get, you know, so excited about it, not because it was my creation, because I believe it will help a lot of people. I just believe a lot of people right now don't understand that yet, and hopefully this video will clarify it. Okay, so what happens is you add 30 all 30 of these list builders that you shared your information with. In exchange, they turn around and share it with you on your Connections Plus list. Then you have the potential of having 29, not 30, and I'll explain the difference why it's not 30 here in just a minute. You'll have 29 list builders that will have the potential of sharing a lead with you. And now all of a sudden you've maximized the compensation generations below you helping you build your list. We're talking about 30 generations below you. Okay? And it doesn't matter, once again, if a lead comes in on the first generation or the 30th generation, you still get that lead shared with you, and you also earn $5. So once again, you get to decide how many list builders that you want to share with, but that ultimately determines many things for you, and it also determines the structure of your business, the list builders that will be below you helping you build your list. So here is what happens after you make your initial version 2.0 upgrade election. The system creates the 30 list builder positions that those who join from your website link will see. You will always be shown in the first position on all websites of those people who are on your first generation, or the people that you're going to be introducing it to through your website. They will always see you in the first position. The list builder then, at this point, okay, because you are now in the first position, everybody else shifts up one. So what happens to the person in the 30th position? They'll no longer be displayed on the websites of his or her 31st generation of list builders, which you would be considered that. They have reached the maximum allowed at this point, and voila, they go away. Somebody asked me once, well, where do they go? Well, do they cycle back in? Do they cycle around? Is this a board system? Is this a cycler? No, it's not. This is totally different than that. I will dare say, but once a person who has elected a 30 generation funnel, if you will, or list builder line, is probably off celebrating somewhere once they got to that point, because they probably have hundreds, if not thousands, of websites already out there as a result of this system helping them build a list day in and day out. So that's where that list builder goes, if you want to know. Okay, so with each new generation added below you by you or as a result of leads shared with you, your name will then be displayed up one position on the new version 2.0 list builders websites. Okay, so the new people getting in, which once again is represented with this green funnel or triangle. And what happens to you? You are in the second position on their website. Okay, on your website, you're hard-coded in the first position. And on their website, you're always defaulted, if you will. You've moved up. They're in the first, you're in the second. Okay, hopefully you kind of see what's happening. Everybody else shifts up one for every new generation that moves down. All right? Until you reach the generational level associated with your version 2.0 upgrade decision. So if you chose 3 generations, which we're going to illustrate in this example, if you chose 3 generations, we'll show you what happens. Okay, now another person, a 2.0 upgrade, gets involved. What happens? At this point, you're still in the number 1 position on your website. You'll always be that. And in the number 2 position on your first generation of list builders. Now you've got your second generation of list builders. Well, you're now displayed in the 3rd position. Everybody got pushed up 1 position as a result of this new generation being added. Same thing happens. Now you add a 3rd generation. At this point, you are now listed in the 4th position on their websites. We're not talking about your website. Nothing changes on your website. Nothing changes on the 2nd generation of folks' websites and the 3rd. And the same thing happens. You are in those positions. That's why the leverage is so significant in this. A lot of people thought, well, gosh, eventually once I move completely through the 30 generations, I no longer have websites. No, you do. You have all the websites who are still out there with your name in it. Those don't change. Okay, now another generation is added. However, in our example, you had only chosen to share with 3 other list builders of the 30, and as a result, you have reached the maximum generational level you chose. The system identifies that. And so at this point, whereas the 30th position was coming off, you will actually come off of this list builder line at this point. You will not be displayed on websites from your 4th generation of list builders and below. Yikes! You mean for just an additional one-time cost of only $135, I could get the leverage of 27 more generations of list builders helping me build my list? That's the question that you should be asking yourself. And it doesn't take too many generations in order for you to earn that money and more back. But more importantly, the number of people that would be available to help you build your website become astronomical. Okay, so what happens? You are now at this point, you actually, I'm not sure if you'd be jumping and celebrating at this point, but that's what happens within the system. Okay, let me give you a more of a visual perspective of what's happening, okay, rather than these triangles, these funnels, and all of this good stuff. So here's what's ultimately happening. You have your website, and in the back of the membership area of your website, you have you showing in this list, first the number 1 list builder position, and then 29 other list builders. We're leveraging, helping one another build a list through sharing leads. Okay, so what happens? You go out and you introduce it to Annie in whatever fashion. Maybe it's a banner ad, maybe it's a text ad, maybe it's some other method, or someone you may know, okay, that's trying to build an online business that, hey, this sounds like a great opportunity to be able to build and help them build their list for whatever business program or service they want to share. So Annie, the nurse, looks at it and goes, this is awesome. Okay, and what happens? Your name is still in the number 1 position on your website. In Annie's case, she now is in the number 1 position on her website, and you're in the number 2. But she goes out and she says, holy smokes, I've got 5 friends I know that would just eat this up. And in this case, she'll go share with those. But beforehand, what happened? You've got 1 lead, okay, that was added to your list. You may already have known Annie, or maybe she came from an ad or what have you. But you now have 2 websites. You've basically leveraged your effort, doubled the number of websites that you have out there online helping you build your list. So Annie goes and shares with her friends, okay? And in this case, she's got 6 friends. All right? And these are all marketing chums, and she thought, hey, they would love this. They decide to upgrade as well. And so at this point, what's happened? You're still in the number 1 position on your website. You can still share it with additional people. Same thing with Annie. She is in the 1st position, you're in the 2nd, and now with this other generation, your 2nd generation of list builders, you are now in the 3rd position on their website. They're in the 1st, Annie's the 2nd, you're in the 3rd, just like I was showing you up above where we had our straight line. Okay, now let's say Tommy over here, he's like, man, this is better than I anticipated, and he goes out. And guess what? He goes out and gets 8 new list builders, and they love it as well, and they upgrade to 2.0. What's ultimately happened? In this scenario, you've added 1 to 3 generations of list builders, and you've added 15 new leads to your system. When we say you, it's not just you, it's them as well. And now you have 16 websites with your name in one of the list builder positions. Once again, you're in list builder position number 1 on your website, always, whether you introduce it to 1 or 5,000. Okay, you're always in the number 1 position. Now Annie, you're in the number 2 position on her website, the number 3 position on their websites, and number 4 position on their websites, and it continues, depending, once again, on how many generations of list builders you chose to share with in the beginning. Determines how many generations down below you'll have sharing with you. So your decision is very, very important in terms of future capabilities within the system. But here's the cool thing. With every new person added to your first generation of list builders, you are creating another 30 list builder line of list builders who will benefit from the new list builder below, with you being moved up into the second position, and the new list builder would be in the first position. But all of the list builders, all 30, are going to benefit, depending, of course, on how many list builders that new list builder wants to share with, just like the decision that you had to make as well. But you get to decide, once again, how many generations of list builders and how long you'll actually stay on this list builder line based on your decision when you first upgrade to 2.0, or you can upgrade as in time. It doesn't have to be all immediately, but we want to help you understand the value is greater when you do it in that fashion. So once again, what do we see in our member area? We see the list builders shown in this fashion, 1 through 30. And that's what we get used to. But that's what I just showed you with the websites. That's what's ultimately happening. But keep in mind, there's no limit on the number of list builder lines that can be created. Every time a new list builder is added and upgrades from your website, it is creating a new list builder line, and there is no limit on how many you can share. And here's a case in point. Let's just put it this way. Our top winner of the contest that we did for that first couple of weeks had over 850. That's huge. But let me share with you the leverage that's associated with that and how that could actually help you in the future as you continue to build your list. Even though you may not be able to go and get 850, how just being a fairly active participant in this can still reap great rewards and benefits for you. And if you recall, I kept saying that one of the benefits is potentially having these other list builders that you're sharing with share a lead with you. And it works like this. If you share one lead within your first 14 days, now keep in mind, you want this lead to be as serious as you are. That lead would have to upgrade, of course, to 2.0 in order for this to all kick in as well. But this occurs within the first 14 days. Let's assume in this case that you chose to share with all 30, which means you now have the ability to have 29 leads shared with you. And the reason it's not 30, because remember, you're in the first position when you share with someone else. In other words, on your website. So this person comes in from your website, they're your very first lead, and so forth. If they elect to do the same thing and share with 30, this is what happens. All 29, because remember, you're in the first position, all 29 other list builders owe you a lead. Does that mean the leads will happen just as a click of a button like this? No. It may happen over time, because keep in mind, these list builders, many of them are building lists now. They may have other people that they owe, but the system is designed to do this. The minute this takes place, the system captures your username and it assigns it into a file with the username of the list builder who owes you a lead. And so the system keeps track of that and says, okay, when a new lead comes in for one of these list builders, it will go to that file, that table, and it says, oh, John owes Frank a lead. And this lead that John has coming to him isn't on Frank's list yet. Bingo, it gets shared. It's not given up. Remember, we are a lead sharing program. And so this isn't, once again, the pass up and pass down. It's a lead sharing. Here's the real power of this, and that is you get to decide how many are shared with you by finding, if you will, a person who is serious about the business and making sure that that's your first person. So if that person selects only, in this case, 15, then those 15 that she, in this case, is sharing with will owe you a lead. And once again, those leads could be distributed over time, not blanket boom like when you elected the 30. They will, those names of the list builders that you shared with will show up in your connections funnel immediately. These others will come over time. And how quickly, who knows? Well, and if you only select 2, or the person that is your first lead only shares with 2, then of course you're only going to get those 2 will owe you a lead over in time and share that lead with you. Are these leads guaranteed? No. I've heard a lot of people talking about, well, gee, if I just share 1 and then these other 29 list builders owe me. Yes, you're exactly right, they do. When the system stores their name and it links them to you, they owe you 1. However, if they did the same thing and they only had 1 lead and they all only had 1 lead, guess what? There's not any more leads to share. So the idea is that as we're all proactive and we're sharing leads, and as the Paid to Build Your List system continues to grow and expand, guess what? There will be more and more leads to share. Going back to answer this question, does that mean the leads are guaranteed? What is guaranteed is the fact that the system stores your name and those people are linked to owing you a lead. And hopefully they are active participants, and in time a lead will be shared. Keep in mind, it doesn't mean that the lead has to be generated solely by them. In other words, you may be going, well, that person, gee, they're going to have to divvy out 20 leads. No, the system is designed to identify, no matter where the lead's coming in. They may have list builders on all 30 generations, and the system looks and says, okay, look, there's some leads coming in here, and it goes to the system, or goes to the file and says, you owe Tommy a lead. Doesn't matter where the lead's coming from. That's the dynamics of how this works and how the system was designed. And that lead will then be shared with you. And I mean, it's such a dynamic feature and benefit that you're not going to find that anywhere. But keep in mind, it's only on that first lead, not on every single lead that you bring into the system, and it has to happen within the first 14 days. Why do we put a time frame on it? Because we want people to be serious about the list building system and go out and start to enjoy the benefits of it. And the only way you can do that is to be active and be a list builder and participate, and guess what? You'll then start to enjoy the benefits associated with this benefit itself. But here's the real dynamics of this little benefit. All shared leads also mean the following. So in this example, we're showing that 29 leads were shared with you. It doesn't end there, meaning thank you very much for these leads. Keep in mind, these leads are also earning you $5. But here's the leverage component and how your name can be out there on hundreds or thousands of list builder websites all over the world. And this is what happens. not only do you get the lead added to your list and you earn $5, which could end there, but your name now is on the list on one of the 30 list builders line on their website. So what's ultimately happened? You shared one, you got 29 shared with you. Maybe it's not 29, maybe you get 5, maybe there's some duds or there's whatever. But of everyone that then ends up being shared with you, your name is in one of the list builder positions on their website. And they could have picked 30 list builders to share with, which means you now have 30 generations. So you have, in this case, 29 list builder lines with your name in one of those list builder positions. It's huge. And so the question that you probably should ask yourself is, how many websites do I want with my name in one of the list builder positions? Because here's an additional dynamics of what will happen. When we designed the system, I did not go out and say, you know what, I'm going to go try and find all of the buddies that I know and I'm going to put them into these 29 positions. Okay? It wasn't that. Our goal is this, that we get as many list builders in place in these 30 generations with many, many people in these positions, because guess what will happen? People will start to take note and we will start to get big list builders in the system. Guess what's going to happen? They are going to help 30 other or 29 other people besides themselves when they build large lists. And this is a little illustration. So in this case, this is how many generations? Let's say 5 or 6 generations down from you. But look what happens. Here's a list builder. They go out and get 5,000 leads all on their own. And there are list builders that can do it, I'm telling you, that have lists of 100,000, 300,000, 500,000. And so to get 5,000 is a drop in the bucket. And what happens? 29 other people will have 5,000 new leads added to their list. And they will also earn $5 for every single one. Hopefully you're catching this idea. Did you know this guy that would be 8, 10, 15, 25, 30 generations from you? Probably not. You may, because he may be, all over the internet. But you can see what can ultimately happen. That is the power of the Paid to Build Your List system. It's not based on just your efforts. Those who want to keep version 1.0 and just have it be themselves, that's fine. But what ultimately happens with even your version 1.0 user, there are 30 list builders listed still on theirs. It doesn't prevent the person that they may share it with from electing 30. They just get bypassed. The same thing for list builders who just choose 2 generations, and the people who they share it with choose 30. They get bypassed. Folks, we made it such that it was very affordable for anyone to be able to maximize the list builder system at $155 one time. We're not talking about a monthly fee. We're talking about $155. And I would dare say if you go and talk to many people already, and we're going to be posting some testimonials, they will say that it was worth the $155. In fact, they'd probably say they would pay 10 times that because they can see what ultimately is going to happen. Let me just share a conclusion with you. The other day, my good wife she takes care of everything else in our household. I married well above my what I deserve, I should put it that way. She's awesome. But we were having this discussion, and she has got a great business mind, and she understands the concept and so forth, and she gets excited every time I tell her what's happening. But she asked, she said, well, are people upgrading? And I said, yeah, there are people upgrading, and it's been great, that we're paying out great income to folks, and we're seeing lists build and grow, and so forth. And she said, well, are people upgrading to the full amount, the 155, so it's helping more people, helping more list builders? And I said, well, to be honest, no. And she said, then that means that they don't fully understand this. And I said, you're right. And she said, they can't be a $10 thinker. And so the point being is we have a lot of people who they just see $10. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna dip my toe in. $10, that's the minimum. I'm doing it. You don't see what can ultimately happen. There are a lot of people who have only enrolled a couple of people on their teams. Below them, there's 2 or 3 or 400 people. Could all benefit that person, but they're getting bypassed. They're getting jumped over because they're a free user, or they only select 1 or 2 generations. I'm telling you, it's in the worst case scenario here, and that is none of that happens, and you paid $155, you may look at this and say, well, I've got a system with a nice little video and so forth. No, you have 30 list builders immediately added to your list of the people that you chose to share with. So in essence, you paid what, $5, $5.50, $6? Okay, $5.50 is what it would be, or 5 something, for 30 leads. And these are targeted, very qualified leads. So that's worst case scenario. I have spent upwards of $12, $14 for leads that literally when the leads came and I started calling them or sending them emails, they were saying, oh, I was just looking for a job. I remember one said, gee, are you the owner of the Maple, or the where you go collect sap in the deep woods of West Virginia or something? I mean, it was the strangest thing. I'm like, you got to be kidding. I spent $12 for this lead? So we're talking about worst case scenario. You pay $155, you get 30 leads immediately added to your list of list builders above who are basically saying it's okay. The idea of the Paid to Build Your List system is to allow you to build a large list leveraging the efforts of one another. To do that and to be able to finally start to build a list of targeted leads and now connect with them. The design within the member area is designed to help you connect with people from all over the world. So don't let, a little $10, $5, $155 prevent you from enjoying the full benefits of the system. I'm telling you, there's going to be some folks within the system, and many of them, and it's happening already, which is exciting to me, that literally this is going to change their course and their mindset of online marketing in a big, big way. And we are just beginning. And let me just end by saying this. In 3 weeks' time, just over 3 weeks' time, I did the following. And so if you want to get an idea whether or not the list building system can work for you, I did nothing different. I didn't hold myself out and say, hey, I'm the creator, I'm looking for 50 founding positions. I didn't do any of that. This is what I did. I created those banners in the back, and I grabbed the red one. The red one I stuck on one of these ad, and I'll even tell you it was Ad Hit Profits. I stuck it on there, and I ran it for about 4 days. That's it. I ran it for 4 days. I got 55 leads, and they were just and the funny thing is, they couldn't sign in. I didn't have an enrollment form. I had the website go to the video And the video at the end, rather than pull up the register now button, it basically said, send me an email if you'd be interested in this. I didn't say I'm the owner. I didn't say anything. I just said it's not ready for registration yet. Send me your email if you're interested. I got 55 of those folks. Well, over the next several weeks, as I'm still, putting things together, they start emailing me, say, hey, when can we get a registration link? Can we just start? So I just started thinking about it. You know what? I'm just going to open it up and let's see what happens. That was 3 weeks ago. Of those 55, I don't think, I haven't kept track, but I don't think all 55 joined. I'd say probably half. Well, that has now turned into, and right before I got on this video, over 6,000 people. You can do the same thing. That was one advertising site. One. And I haven't even sent this out to my list yet. Just a small list that I've actually sent it out to, and I've kept track of that, and very few of those have really kind of pulled the trigger yet. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is little efforts, especially with the system we've put together, can pay big dividends. Because everybody out there, if they're trying to build an online business, needs to be able to build a list. So with that said, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have raised your hand and said, hey, I am a soldier. I am a pioneer. We're going to make this happen, because some great things are in store for everyone. And so with that said, thank you very much for being on this video. Hopefully it's helped clarify some things. If you still have some other questions, feel free, shoot us some questions and we'll get those answered. Also go pay attention to the frequently asked questions and so forth. So thank you once again very much, and we will be in touch.